Good evening everybody, Calm Biker here, out on a pleasant evening, and I thought I would do my first full control exercise. If you don't know what I'm talking about, well, this video is going in a playlist, and the first video will already be in that playlist, and the playlist link will be in the comments below, assuming I've remembered to do everything. So you can have a look at the first video and see what I'm talking about. I won't describe it every time. And the first full control exercise and full control information is all about steering and the very basics of counter steering or positive steering or whatever you want to call it. But the type of steering that I'm about to do now. Hey! I'm in a silly mood. But it's also about, or I also want to talk about, a certain bit of physics of steering and of bike stability. Nice bit of indicating. Because bikes are very, very stable when they're moving. I mean, really, really stupidly stable. I've got nothing behind me for miles, so I can get away with this. So, we get in a higher gear, so it's not going to slow down too much. And if I let go, it's stable. It just carries on. Even if I kind of lean around, doesn't really do much. Let's get to another straight a bit to try and show you what I mean. So, still no one behind me. Don't want to be accused of being too dangerous. So, hands off the bars. If I jump up and down on the bike, it's stable. And there's a reason for that. And it's all in the physics and the geometry of the bike. So I'm going to go to the place where I'm going to do the first exercise, and then I'll try and explain what I mean by that. So, back in a moment. Right, so found a nice quiet-ish place. Hopefully there's not going to be loads and loads of cars coming past all the time. The first bit of full control talks about why bikes are stable. Now, a lot of people talk about the gyroscopic effect of the wheels spinning. Some people think there's a gyroscopic effect of the engine spinning. Well, there kind of is, but it's so tiny, it's not even really worth considering. There is a way of demonstrating that, but I don't want to do it because it scratches bits. But if you want to try it, try lifting your bike up vertical and letting it drop onto its side stand. Then try putting your bike up vertical with the engine running and the idle up high for the supposed gyroscopic effect, and let it fall onto its side stand again, and you'll see there's no difference at all. That doesn't really make that much difference when the bike's not moving quick. But the gyroscopic effect is an effect. It is a strong effect to stabilise a bike, especially at high speed. However, the key part of why a bike is stable, why I can jump about on it like I did, and why when you turn in a bend and you let go it stands up, is all to do with that, the rake. So basically the rake is the angle that the forks make with the rest of the bike or with the ground. On this bike it's about 24.5 degrees rake, and if you follow that line down, the pivot point, if you imagine it down to the ground, it's actually ahead of the front of the tyre, or not the front of the tyre, it's ahead of the contact patch of the tyre. So the bit that's actually doing the steering isn't in line with the bit that's touching the ground. And that's what gives a bike its directional stability. The difference between the point at which that imaginary line stops on the ground and the contact patch is the trail. And the bigger the trail, caused by generally a larger rake, the more stable the bike is. Now, if you think about why that is, if you imagine you've got, say, a shopping trolley and you push it forward, it hasn't got a wonky wheel. What you've got with a shopping trolley is the caster, the wheel, and the axle, or the pivot point, I suppose. But the pivot point is always ahead of the wheel, because as you push, the pivot moves first and the wheel falls into line behind it, assuming you've not got a wonky wheel. And that keeps the thing going in a straightish line. Exactly the same principle with a bike. If the bike is steering one way or other, the contact patch is behind that pivot point. When you let go, the pivot point is forced by the tyre, by the contact patch being behind, for the contact patch to go in behind the pivot, behind the forks, and the forks to straighten up and the bike to sit up and do its thing. And that's what gives it the main stability. And it's also the reason that counter steering works. If you haven't heard about counter steering, well, bizarrely some people haven't, but it's how you steer a bike. I'm teaching a lot of people to suck eggs here, so please bear with me. But counter steering basically is, if you want to turn right at anything above 1 mile an hour or 10 miles an hour probably, if you want to turn right, you don't turn the bars to the right, you actually turn them to the left a bit, which sounds counterintuitive, sounds like you're turning them the wrong way, and that's why it's called counter steering. It's also called positive steering, generally because you do it with a push. So if you want to turn right, you push on the right hand bar. Now if you think about what that actually does, pushing the right hand bar does turn the wheel to the left. But as it does that, that turns the front end and the whole bike will then lean. So the bike, the movement that you've pushed on the right, moving the wheel to the left, pushes the bike to the left. The top where you're sat stays roughly in the same place. The bottom, where the wheels are, moves out. You're then leaning. Once you're leaning, because you've got these tyres with a profile, the inside part, so if I'm leaning left, let's say, the most left part has got a smaller radius than the right-hand side of the contact patch. Got a bigger radius. Acts like a cone, and if you push a cone, it goes around in circles. Well, that's how a bike steers. Hope that was kind of clear. So it's all done by that initial push, that initial counter steer. So I push there, the bike swivels underneath me, and I turn to the right, or vice versa if you do it on the other side. Now when you're in a turn, the bike also wants to sit in a nice place. It wants to sit in the position that's best for its turn at the speed. Now sometimes that's not necessarily what you want it to do. You want it to turn faster and get some G-forces going and all that kind of stuff. And that again is based upon the geometry, which is why if I lean the bike to the left, if you can see that, the bars will steer slightly to the left. If I lean it to the right, the bars steer slightly to the right. It's very hard to pick up, probably on the camera, but trust me, it is happening. If let's say I measure that distance there with my finger and thumb and tilt to the left, and I've now got a gap. If I tilt back to the right, the gap goes away. So that's all to do with the geometry of the bike. Now, for this exercise, for this counter steering exercise, it's not basic counter steering, because everybody does that anyway. Whether you know you're doing it or not, you have to do that to get around bends. The last bit of physics that's mentioned for this exercise is when you push, as we know, every action has an equal and opposite reaction. So when I push that bar away, I'm also pushing myself away. And this exercise is about stopping that. For this, I need my little camera to demonstrate. So, the principle is that if I'm pushing against something, and that's forcing me back as well, then I'm not getting as much as a push as I could. And depending on my seating position, the amount of push that goes back might be different. So if I'm leaning forward, there might not be as much push going back and there's more going into the bars. If I'm leaning backwards, the other way around perhaps. Or just other body positions, I might be twisted, something like that. So all of these things mean that you're not getting a precise push on the bar, and all of this full control stuff is supposed to be about being precise. Now it says in the document to try this, stand up against a post, put your hand on it, like so, and give yourself a push without, just with your feet side by side, like so. So let's give us a push. And especially because I'm in a little hill, the push, a lot of it obviously is pushing me backwards. So full control says if you brace yourself, so 1 foot back, it's almost like karate position of old, 1 foot back to brace yourself and getting some strength into that leg, some tension into that leg. Now when you push yourself back, it's much harder to push yourself away, and more of your strength is going into, in that case, Broadgate Farm Cottages sign, but when you're riding, obviously, into the handlebars. Now if you've got all of the energy going into handlebars, the idea is that you've got much more control because you've been much more precise. So all of that physics and theory and ideas aside, means we can actually get on with the exercise, or I can actually get on with the exercise. If you're playing along, feel free. And the exercise is really simple. It's about making sure that when you push the bar, the inside bar, to turn, that you're anchored. And it tells you a few things that you've got to do. And we've got to do these repeatedly until they become second nature. So, as with all these exercises, you're doing it consciously, over and over and over again. Not half a dozen times, but potentially hundreds of times. Maybe a day's riding or something like that. Unless it becomes subconscious quicker. But you're just doing it over and over again until you don't even think about it anymore. Just that every bend is approached in the same way. So, what do they say? They say, start by choosing a road you know well. Well, just up there is the Bentley Bends, which is Tosh's favourite road. I'm going to use that one. As you're going through your bends, make sure you're choosing a gear for flexibility. So, one that will allow you to slow down quickly or speed up quickly, depending on what you need to do. Obviously, you're trying not to put yourself in danger, which is why it's not only a road you know, but a quiet one with some slow speed bends in. Apparently, when you do this for the first time, it can be quite surprising how much the bike turns, because you've taken out however much of your body movement you get rid of by anchoring. You make sure your upper body is relaxed, your grip's loose. Now they told me on the IAM your grip should just be enough to hold on, enough to hold the throttle in position, but you should be able to have somebody slide your hand off. That apparently is about right. Your elbows should be loose so you can swing your elbows around. I think Skeggy Cruiser called it the chicken dance. And then the key part, as you're approaching the bend, all you're doing on this one is weighting the outer foot peg. So you're just transferring some weight onto the outer peg. So if I'm turning right, it's weight on the left peg. If it's turning left, weight on the right peg. This is before the corner, before the bend or the corner. Your foot should be on the balls of your feet, apparently. Although I'm sure that doesn't really matter. And then when you get to the bend, when you get to the turning point, you push. But rather than just pushing with your hand and your arm, you're using that anchoring to make sure you get more of a push. So you're even giving your push with your foot a bit. This is the theory. Now I'm going to go and try it and see how I get on. Back in a minute. Well, here are the bends. I'm going to start slowly. So I'm doing 60 miles an hour, 60 mile an hour limit. And there's going to be some slow bends too. I'm going to start slowly because I'm not sure what the effect's going to be, and I didn't really do it on that one because I'm too busy talking. So, on for the next one. Want to keep my line nice, that's the key part. So this is a left hand bend. So, nice and loose. Duck dance. Actually, forget that one, it's not enough of a bend. So, nice and loose. Duck arms, whatever you call it. Weight on the left peg. Not leaning or anything, and push. Meh, not a lot to that one. Maybe I need a tighter bend, which I've got coming up. This is one that caught out Kev because it tightens up on you. So, weighting up my right foot, ready for the bend. And push with the left. Kinda. It didn't take as much of a push, I think, as I would normally have done, maybe. So, left foot weighted, arms loose, right push. Yeah, that does actually... that does turn in a lot more precisely. That's weird. It doesn't feel natural to be putting the weight there and kind of using my whole body to push across the bike, but... And I'm trying not to change my position on the bike. I've been doing a lot of kind of moving my bum around normal riding, and I'm trying not to do that because I want to do these exercises step by step. So I'm doing it without too much lean either. Lean of me as opposed to lean of the bike. You can't do this without leaning, obviously, as the physics proved. So yeah, that was my first go through. It does feel a little bit different to normal. I'm trying to compare it to what it would be like. You know what, I might get away with this. Pretend you didn't see. I'm trying to compare what it feels like to when I'm not leaning off the bike and when I'm not kind of trying to go quick. I'm just trying to keep a nice line. And yeah, I think it makes sense. I'm definitely putting in the weight through my whole body into the bar rather than just through one place. So this is normally a 30 miles an hour bend for me. Yeah, 33 there. So, and that felt easy actually. I think there might be something to this, you know. I think there might be something to this. Well, I'm going to keep practicing this for a while. And then I'm going to keep practicing it for even longer until I'm not thinking about it anymore, because that's the point. You shouldn't be thinking about what you're doing. It should all be completely automatic. So I'm going to keep practicing, and if you try it, let me know how you get on. And if you've got any other tips, as I said in the first video, let me know about them too. Loose, right anchor, push left. Loose, left anchor, push right, right anchor, push left. Loose, right anchor, push left. Loose, left anchor, car slowing down, push right. I've been practicing for about 20 minutes now, and something I forgot to mention, I think, I might have mentioned it but I think I didn't, is the push, that push for this one. So I'm loose, weighting up the right peg, and I'm pushing to the left. They say that should be a short push, a measured push, not keep pushing, because you don't want to steer yourself right into the ground. So it's a short push and then a maintenance of the pressure to keep the corner, keep you on that nice line. And as I say, when you're trying to improve precision, you certainly should be able to keep your lines precise. And then one thing I've noticed, which way shall I go? I shall go right. One thing I've noticed, and I'm going to do it here, so I'm loosening up, weighting up the left peg. Maybe I'm pushing too much with my weighting up, my anchoring, but it's taking the weight off my backside and naturally moving me, just leaning slightly across to the inside. Now, I'm not doing that consciously, not yet, that's a later exercise, and I'm desperately trying to stick with the exercise that I'm videoing, but just you can't really help it. If you're putting that weight on the outside, your body tends to go to the inside of the bike to compensate. In a straight line, what seems to be happening is you weight it up and the bike goes kind of, I mean, I'm exaggerating now, but I'm weighting my left leg, and even though I'm going in a straight line, I'm kind of to the right. And then when you get to the point of tipping in, you know, the corner is much easier. But there is that natural movement to the inside of the bend against the push that I'm doing with my foot before I started to push the bar, which is something that gives you a bit of extra confidence for bends anyway, but it does feel better. Now, it might be me overdoing it, so if you do this, let me know how you get on. I'm intrigued. Anyway, that's enough waffle from me, isn't it? More practice to be done. Weight the left peg, push the right bar. So I'm going to head off, do a bit more practice, and I'll see you on the next video. I won't see you, obviously. So thanks for watching. Ride safe. and I'll talk to you all again soon.